Hello guys, this is your friend Dark Verse and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is, what if Naruto became the forbidden price demanded by every kunoichi? Naruto x Tsunade x Sizune Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Well, Naruto not bad. Tsunade said, amazed that Naruto didn't even look tired. You did it even faster than I thought and you almost seem happy to be doing it. She said joyfully. Naruto was in the office doing Tsunade's paperwork and organizing all of her files. Well, since I am a step closer to be Hokage, why wouldn't I be? Naruto said, smiling happily and not even knowing what he is in for. Well, Tsunade-sama, guess I'll see you later. I'm gonna go get me some ramen. He said while heading to the door. Oh no you won't. Go to your house and dress up. We're going to the Nara's house to go discuss our medicine issues. She said, pointing at him with a glare. What? I had everything planned out tonight. He said, whining and getting on his knees begging to have this night for free. No whining. This is the life of a Hokage. Once you take office there is very little time to spend on your own. She said, looking down on him. Fine then, I give in. Naruto got up and headed out the door, going to his apartment to get ready. Second month. Phew. Finally I'm done with all this paperwork, and here I was happy to be doing it only to find out it's a death trap slowly closing in on me. Naruto said, talking to himself. For over a month Tsunade has been working him hard every day with the same type of work day in and day out. The door opened and in came Tsunade. She looked around the room feeling impressed that Naruto is taking at least this paperwork seriously. Wow, you did well today. She said, complimenting him. Geez, you think I did all your work and not even a broken sweat? He said, even though he found this boring. Well, as a little gift for all your hard work, I'll let you go out tonight to do whatever you want. Really? You're not joking? He said, questioning her if this wasn't one of her little jokes she played here and there on him. Nope. She answered. Go out and have some fun. Thanks, Tsunade-sama. You've earned it. Naruto turned around and headed for the door to go out and begin his little adventure he planned. He opened the door and stopped midway. He searched his pockets and took out his wallet, counting his money to see if he can make it through the night. He turned around and looked at Tsunade. Seeing her sit behind the desk, she probably felt very bored. Tsunade-sama, Naruto, would you like to go on a date with me? He asked, hoping she will take in this offer. Tsunade was surprised. She looked around her and she still needed to do some file that only a Hokage can file. Sorry Naruto, I got my hands full tonight. She said. Well, I guess I'll see you later then. He said, heading out the door. Ya mate nay. She said. Ya nay. He said, still heading down the stairs. For over almost 5 weeks every time Tsunade gave Naruto free time he would always ask her out on a date so they can go eat together, but she was always busy and turned him down every chance she can get. Naruto was trying to at least let her get some free time too, but she had more important stuff to do. But tonight she actually promised him on a date. Man, what's the point for even asking her out? Naruto said to himself while walking through Konoha streets. She has been giving me a lot of hard work lately and very few little free times, so why am I taking pity on her? Guess I'll give it one more shot. If she turns me down it won't end there for sure. Naruto went home to get some of his stuff he needed for tonight. He got what he needed and headed out the door. Closing the door behind him he went jumping roof to the Hokage's tower. He got there and decided to go through the door. He entered the room and saw her sitting behind the desk. So have you finished your work? He asked. Oh, it's Naruto. She said, not even knowing that he came in. You promised me a date tonight, so where to? He asked. About that, something has come up and I can't do it today. She said, trying to laugh it off. You're joking. He said, now up to the desk right in front of her face. Sorry, I'll make it up to you. She said. That's what you said last week. Geez, gimme a break. She said. I got work, so it can't be helped. She sighed. She turned him down one more. Well, I guess I have to do it now. I guess I'll take this as a payment method for all those turn downs and paperwork she put me through. Here it goes. Naruto thought to himself. Alright then, if you're going to make it up to me, let me see your tits. What are you saying? She said, surprised by the question. No way, how dare you come and ask? She said, putting her arms in front of her as a barrier. Come on you. Oh, me. He said in a serious face. Geez, just hold my tits alright. Tsunade said. She got up and took off her green coat and her shirt. If you are satisfied with this, then today I'll allow it. She said, exposing her big tits to Naruto's face. Naruto was surprised by her actions. He would have thought that at least a punch to the gut will do, but this is even better. He quickly went around the table and lifted her up on the table. He grabbed one and just started to rub and pinch it slowly. Tsunade moaned. She actually liked how he was doing it to her. She was getting so aroused she didn't even notice that Naruto was in her tit already. Hey, stop that. She said, noticing what he was doing. But Naruto didn't stop. He turned her around so her back was up against his chest and started rubbing her tits aggressively. Naruto, stop that. Oh come on, you know this is turning you on. Who's getting turned on? She said, a crimson blush taking over her soft cheeks. Well then, let me see how wet you are. Naruto let go of one of her tits and went down on her with his fingers going past her pants. Ah! Tsunade let out one of her moans, which turned on Naruto even more. She got off the table. Alright then, I guess I'll give you a blowjob then. Take a seat. Naruto backed up until he felt the chair on his legs, then took a seat. Tsunade made her way around the table and stopped right in front of Naruto. She got down on her knees and started to help Naruto open his zipper. As she unzipped his pants, his vigorous rod came out and started to get bigger and thicker. Wow, you're really big. She said, complimenting him. She wrapped one of her hands around his and started to stroke him slowly. Naruto's member twitched from the feeling of her cold, soft hands. Now in its fullest, Tsunade put the tip in her mouth as she licked him around there, not leaving a single inch dry. It's been a long time, but I think I still haven't lost my touch. She said, looking up at him as she finally started to put his in her mouth and slowly on him. Naruto chuckled as he slowly put his hand behind her head. The legendary well then, let's see if you're not lying. He took her by surprise and quickly pushed her head more down on his. Tsunade got startled and coughed as it went all the way back to her throat. Instead of getting mad at him for his unexpected action, she saw this more as a challenge for her and started to deep-throat Naruto. Naruto was surprised. He thought she would have at least gone back a little, but instead she went deeper on him. Damn, Tsunade, that feels good. She went up and down as started to go faster. The faster she went, the more he heard his hitting the back of her head. She went for at least 2 minutes and stopped. What's wrong? Naruto asks. Usually you would have come before then. Well then, you are losing your touch. Naruto laughed a little. We haven't even started. She positioned herself between his legs and grabbed his. She gave it a few strokes before taking it in her mouth. This will definitely have you come in seconds. She said in a seductive manner. She opened her mouth wide and took him in all the way back to her throat and started to hum with her mouth. Naruto felt a chill up his spine as he pulled his head back. The sensation of her humming felt greater than he expected. Oh, I think I'm about to, but Tsunade wasn't going to let him off that easy. She stopped and took his out of her mouth. Naruto looked down on her. Tsunade got a little higher and grabbed her 2s. She slowly put them closer to his throbbing member. When she had him in position, she squeezed him tight so it wouldn't slip out. Slowly she moved her up and down on his member. How does this feel? She asked him. Oh, that feels great. Squeeze them harder. She did as he said and pushed her tits harder on him and moved them faster and faster up and down. Naruto already knew she had him about to come. The sensation of her big soft tits felt just as he imagined they would feel, but he still had a trick that can catch her off guard. Tsunade looked up at Naruto and tried to think of what he was thinking. She looked down on her and just stared at his that she was giving a titty to. He would have came by now. What am I doing wrong? She looked at his throbbing that was covered with her saliva. She then put the tip in her mouth as she was still getting tit. Moving her tongue all over the tip, she looked up at Naruto only to see him smiling down on her. Confused, she looked back down only to get surprised as a sea load of cum came into her face and chest. She let go of her tits as she was still getting cum all over her chest. Some got in her mouth and some got in her hair. As the very last drip landed on her chest, she looked up at Naruto and amazed at how much he came. Wow, that's a lot, Naruto, she said, licking her lips. Like the pearl necklace I gave ya, he said, smiling. Very funny. Now help me clean this off. You came more than I thought. She got up off from his legs and turned around, walking to her table slowly. Naruto looked at her hips and saw as it swayed every time she took a step. He got hard again and thought that a tit wasn't just going to be it. Tsunade was at her desk and grabbed a few tissues to clean all of the cum that was in her chest and neck. Come on, Naruto. You're gonna help me clean this out, she said, not even looking back at him. She heard a few steps and knew that Naruto has finally gotten up. The tissues are right there at the corner of the desk. Make sure you clean the chair too, she said, still not paying attention to him. Don't worry, the sweat will definitely clean your chest. Huh, what sweat? She said as she stopped cleaning her chest. A tit and a blowjob won't do, you know. Well, too bad that is all you're getting for today. I'm still hard again. She felt Naruto's hands go under her arm and grab a hold of her sticky big ass as he pulled her back until she felt the tip of his member hit her tight pants, trying to push its way in between her thighs. Oh, Naruto, I said that's it, she said. Doesn't sound like that to me. Sounds like you enjoy this. What makes you think that? I am definitely not enjoying this, she lied. Well, how about this? Naruto pulled away and grabbed his member and pushed it in between her thighs as it rubbed her, giving her a great sensation. Oh, that feels so good, she groaned. Naruto let go of his member and put his hand on her back as he pushed her against the table, making her bend over him as she supported herself with her arms on her desk. Naruto started to take off her pants along with her panties going all the way down to the floor. Tsunade lifted one of her legs to help him remove them. As he threw them to the side of the office, Naruto looked at the great view that lay before him. Her cunt was right in front of him, dripping with all the wetness she was holding in her pants. Tsunade started to move her hips, begging for him to begin her. Someone's really excited. He got on his knees and started to lick the lower back part of her vagina and used his fingers to push in her to get her warmed up. Yes, Tsunade moaned. Naruto just kept on repeating his same movements, which drove her crazy every second. Naruto, stop teasing me and bang me already, she said in between her moan. You said it. Naruto got up and grabbed his hard member, positioning it right at her entrance. He slowly put his tip at her entrance and moved it around her hole. He was toying with her and she knew it. Tsunade knew this game. Two can play at that game. He wanted her to beg for it. Tsunade looked behind her. Naruto, please stick it in already and bang me till I can't take it anymore. I'm so wet and horny, just drill it in me. Without even saying it, Naruto grabbed her hip with one of his hands and his member with his other hand as he positioned himself at her entrance. Not even saying his actions, he quickly pushed himself into her and not even giving her a chance to get used to his in her. Ah, gosh, Naruto, tell me the next you plan on banging it in me. You asked for it, so you're gonna get it. Now that it was in, he let go of his and grabbed her hips with both of his hands and again started to push into her forcefully. If she asked for a hard ing, it's what she's gonna get. He pushed in and out, already had her going into an orgasm. Tsunade grabbed her desk harder as Naruto went faster and faster. You're so rough. Tsunade yelled. Damn, she's so tight. Naruto kept on pushing himself into her faster and harder. Banging her with all he had in him, her chest swayed every time he pulled in and out of her. Yes. Naruto, faster. Harder. Naruto did what he was told as he now grabbed one of her tits and started to go faster and deeper in her. Yes, EYA. In the angle they were in, he kept on hitting her G-spot repeatedly, making her get an orgasm. Tsunade, oh, you're so tight. Keep on going, Naruto. I'm about to come. Man, this feels so good. The more I go in you, the wetter you get. Naruto kept on going in her, slowing his movements and then speeding up again, not even letting on chance for her to rest. If Tsunade was going to live up to her title, then he should too. I'm coming. Tsunade screamed from the top of her lungs as she finally came all over his in the inside, making it wetter for Naruto and easier to move faster. Her own juice going down the side in between her legs and breathing heavily from her orgasms, she felt tired as she limped her body and put most of her weight on the desk as Naruto kept pounding her from the back. Man, I think, I'm about to come. He said as he grabbed on tighter and made his movements faster and deeper as he was about to finish. Come inside me. Fill me. Tsunade said out loud. She wanted to feel his hot sticky cum flow through her. Naruto kept on going. He had a load and he planned on wasting it all today. Naruto came all over inside of Tsunade, filling her up. As he calmed down, he looked down at his. Wow. My went limp, yet it's still coming. He kept his rod still in her till he finished his last drop. As he finished and pulled it out, their juices flowed out of her and down her legs. He helped Tsunade sit on the desk as she too had a workout from their session. Seconds of silence passed. Tsunade decided to speak up. Sigh, Naruto, she said as she wiped her forehead with her arm, wiping the sweat off. Are you ready for round 2? You bet I am, he said excitedly. Good. 'Cause this time I want to be in control. Tsunade got off her desk and threw everything to the side on the ground. Get on the table. Naruto got up on the table and laid down on his back. Tsunade looked at his member. Let me get this bad boy started. She just started to stroke him, trying to get him back up. As Naruto finally got a boner, Tsunade got on the desk and hovered over Naruto and his now erect member. She grabbed his and lined it up with her vagina. As soon as she had the very tip in her, she plunged down on him. Oh my god. This feels so good, she said as it went deep in her. Slowly she started to jump up and down. Naruto grabbed her by the waist to help her jump on his. Tsunade moved faster and faster, making her big tits jump up and down, getting Naruto more excited as he started to push in her every time she went down on him. Tsunade started to get tighter on him already. He's making me come right before him, she thought. She leaned forward on Naruto so she can use her arms to keep herself stable. Naruto saw her huge tits moving in front of his face, getting him more excited. Naruto grabbed her and pushed down on his member. You're gonna have me come again, she screamed. But Naruto stopped. Let's switch positions. Put your back up against me. She got up and turned around and again slowly went down on Naruto. Like this? She asked. He nodded. As she jumped on him, Naruto grabbed her arms and pulled her back as he now had the chance to plunge into her. Oh, this feels good. Do me, Naruto. He then moved to the side as they were both lying on their sides. Naruto lifted one of her legs and started to pound her again. He pushed himself off the table as he still had a hold of her arms, and now he was the one in control. Not fair, she said as she looked back. Fine then. He pulled out of her and let go of her arms. He walked over to the chair and took a seat. Tsunade saw him sitting down with his erection standing tall and covered with her juices. She walked over to him and closed his legs together as she mounted him and put his in her tight hole. Now she started to do the bouncing again and back in control. Naruto grabbed her huge ass and put his face in between them, enjoying their nice soft sweaty touch every time she bounced. She started to speed up her pace once again. Yes, feel my tits. Oh, God. Naruto, I think. I'm coming again. Tsunade can't even handle 10 minutes without coming. I wonder if she will last our last one. Oh, your tightness has me about to blow already too. Let's come together then. They both speeded up their movements, meeting in the perfect time. Naruto, Tsunade. Both came at the same time with their juices meeting and flowing again out of her. She rested her body on his. I'm really tired. I don't think I can move, she said, panting. Don't worry, this last one you won't have to worry anything. Again, she said. Yeah, I'm gonna make you bend over the wall. Fine, one last more, but that's it. She got up and went up to her wall, spreading her legs and slouched over onto the wall. Naruto went up to his pants and grabbed a little pouch. He grabbed it and walked over behind Tsunade. What's that? She asked. It's lube, he said as he finally opened it up and spread some on his already erect. For what? Aren't I wet as it is? She said. Yeah, you're really wet, but I don't plan on ing you from that hole. Her eyes widened. You're gonna me in the. But I never have been ed in that hole. Then this is your first time, so better hold up, cause I still have one load and I'm wasting it all here. He stroked his up and down so he can spread the lube all around it. Grabbing her and spreading her cheeks, Tsunade slouched more so she can have it properly open. Now using one hand to grab his and the other to keep her spreaded, he pushed himself in her. Wow, even with lube you're still tight. He pushed himself more in. Now in, he grabbed her and started to her anal now. Damn Tsunade, you're so warm. Feels like my is melting. Naruto be gentle, this if my first time, he said as it hurt her the deeper he went. Then I promise to make this fast. No, don't, she screamed, but it was too late. Naruto rammed his all the way in. He pushed himself out and in and sped up his pace. Ruuuuhh. 2. It hurts. Even though she was having her inside spreaded out, she loved how it felt. Her juices came out sliding down her legs as he kept on doing her. Wow, you're so tight, you almost have me coming, he said. I'm almost done. Oh, almost done. He came splattering all of his cum up her. He filled her up that some of his cum started to come out already, so he pulled out of her, making his cum run freely out. Tsunade fell to the ground. She couldn't last. She turned around and lay with her back on the floor as she breathed heavily, making her chest move every time she took a breath. As much as it hurt, she liked the feeling of being nailed in the. We should do this again, she said, lying down on the floor looking up at him. Oh yeah, we are definitely doing that again. Naruto stared at her as she looked beautiful down on the ground and sweaty of all that they had. I still have a little bit left, he said. Tsunade laughed. Then come over here and give me another pearl necklace. Naruto walked up to her and just started to jack off in front of her. Tsunade got up and laid her back on the wall waiting for his cum. Naruto finally came into her face, getting her hair, eyes, mouth and the rest on her huge tits. I love it when you cum on me. Naruto walked slowly through Konoha's forest, looking down at the dirt he walked on. He had a sad expression on his face. He kept on walking, regretting what he had done. I knew I should have never had with the Hokage. Even my instinct felt like I really shouldn't have. But, that was surely amazing. Just the feeling of pounding her makes me want to go back there and do it again, even without the lube. Naruto thought as he kept on walking to the demon country. I can't believe I got kicked out of the village. Now I'll never become Hokage. if it wasn't for that stupid Danzo and his stupid Sharingan. Naruto kept on walking through the forest with his face down, still thinking of what just happened. It felt like all my dreams crashed, and right after I finally lost my virginity. It happened so fast too. I woke up thinking it was gonna be another day at the office. Then when I entered, this guy was next to Tsunade looking outside the window. He said he knew that I and the Hokage had, apparently his fake Sharingan saw it all. I can't even believe that he told me to leave the village, saying that I only had with her to become Hokage. Sheesh, what a motherer. Even if I go back, I'm sure that he would tell everyone the truth, and that would ruin Tsunade. So I'm pretty much screwed, just as Tsunade is. I guess I'm a rogue ninja now, expected to be doing bad things. Anyways, I need some money, so I better start running. Naruto jumped onto a tree trunks and dashed on ahead to his destination slowly. As he was jumping tree to tree, he started to see buildings up ahead and people throughout the forest. What village would this be? Oh, the land of the waves. I'm sure of it, he said as he stood tall on a tree with his hands folded in front of him. Naruto jumped off the tree and walked slowly out of the forest, trying to think if the land of the waves was really this populated. If this is the land of waves, then Inari is here. I wonder how the whole family is doing. I'm pretty sure Inari would be glad to see me, maybe even gladder if I surprise him, he said as he jumped onto the roof of the building close to him. He jumped onto another, heading to the docks of Inari's old home. As he saw the docks by the sea, he stopped and now started to walk slowly as he got closer and closer to the house. I should go through his window and surprise him, but which one is his though? He said as he stopped and looked at the house to remember where he sleeps. As he saw one, he decided to try his luck and jumped onto the house and sneaked through the window. He was about to enter the window when he saw Tsunade, Inari's mother, looking herself in her mirror. She grabbed her tits and then dropped them. Naruto just stood there looking at her tits jiggle in the mirror, feeling his pants tighten up. I would like to come on those tits. Why does it feel like my ass just gotten bigger? Well, at least they look amazing, and so does my figure, she said as she kept on looking at herself and not aware that Naruto was looking at her. Naruto kept on looking at the mirror, seeing as her ass did look a little bigger and also noticing that she actually had an. Tsunade kept on looking at herself and changing posture on the mirror. Then as she was looking at herself, she saw Naruto behind the window and got startled. Who is that? Is it Naruto? Is he peeping on me? I didn't know he was a pervert. Does he actually like my body? Maybe I should take advantage of this, she said as she smirked. Ah, I really want to get Ed one of these days, someone who can shove their inside my tight and bang the out of me recklessly and dominate me, she said. Tsunade slowly turned around, pretending that no one was looking at her and hoping Naruto wouldn't mind, to her son's mom. As she was now fully turned around, Naruto didn't get a chance to hide himself. Tsunade jumped and immediately covered her from the pervert. Naruto too got scared of what might happen to him. He froze. Naruto, please don't tell me you just heard what I said, she said, still covering herself. You mean of what you really wanted just now? He asked, taking advantage of this situation now that he saw her he really wanted to her. Please don't tell anyone. Well, I guess, he said, unfinished. But let me feel those tits of yours. She dropped her arms and walked over to the window. Naruto grinned, looking at her tits jiggle when she took a step. As she got to the window, she grabbed her and lifted them up so he can feel them. Naruto moved one hand and grabbed her, feeling the smoothness and also feeling her. He let go and jumped into the room so he can use both hands. As he walked closer to him, Naruto turned her around, grabbed her tits and pushed her closer to him. He moved his hands roughly, pushing them up and pressing them against her body. He then started to rub her nipples, making them hard. Tsunade liked the feeling and soon joined him as she too rubbed her tits. As she felt wet, she pushed her hips back up against his pants, feeling his erection strongly between her. Take it out on me, please. she said the more she rubbed herself. Naruto let go of her tit and started to unzip his pants, letting his out. He took his pants off including his shirt and then he went up to the bed, getting on it and laying down on the side as his erection showed, standing straight up ready for tsunami. She walked up to the bed, bended over and grabbed his with her hand and slowly started to jack him off. She looked at Naruto and noticed that he enjoyed the feeling. As she put her hair on the back of her ear, she got closer to his and put the tip right in her mouth and started to him. "You're pretty good, but don't hog all the fun," Naruto said as he moved his hand to her while she kept on ing him. Ah. Surprised that he shoved his finger up her zero ass, she gave him a weird look. She went back to ing his and started to go deeper, making sure she got it good and wet while Naruto fingered her. Tsunami now started to deep throat him as she pushed his all the way in. Going deep on him, she went faster and faster, even using her hand to grab the part her mouth couldn't get. Naruto was about to come. "That feels good, I think I'm about to," he said. She took his out of her mouth and started to jack him off in a slow pace. "You're not gonna come yet." Naruto gave her a sad look. She got on the bed and positioned herself cowboy style, on top of his. As she lowered herself down, she grabbed it and stuck the tip right at her entrance. "Oh, that feels so good. It's been a long time since I got Ed," she said as she lowered herself down. Naruto looked at her and grabbed her hips, getting ready to pound her once she settles. Tsunami lowered herself down slowly, loving the feeling as it went in and more in, as did Naruto, feeling the tightness of her. "This feels so good," she said as she settled. Now that he was all in, she started to jump as Naruto helped her. Ah. Naruto now started to help her rise as he grabbed her hips and started pushing her down every time she went up. Naruto looked at her jump on his, seeing her tits jump every time she did. Tsunami looked at Naruto as she kept on jumping, feeling embarrassed the more she jumped. "I can feel you tightening up. Think I'm about to come, she said as she slowed down, starting to feel the feeling of about to come. No longer able to hold herself, she fell forward, giving Naruto the control. Naruto grabbed hair and started to pound it as he wanted to make her come. Please, stop. I'm coming, she screamed as she came, but Naruto didn't slow down. I think I'm about to come too, he said as he thrusted faster. Tsunami widened her eyes. "No, please, don't come in me. Then, let me come on your tits," he said as he felt her hard nipples on his chest. "No, just stick it out," she screamed, terrified of him finishing in her. Disappointed in her decision, he took it out as he lost the feeling of coming. Pant asterisk thank you. Pant, she said as she calmed down. Naruto still had his erection and his load ready. Mad that only she finished, and he positioned it at her hole, not telling her anything. He pushed the tip in. As soon as she felt it, he thrust it in, feeling her all the way. What the she screamed as she felt uncomfortable with this feeling. "You're so tight," he said, finding it hard to thrust. He took his out, for it was impossible to keep on-ing her like that. "Ow. Don't do that again," Tsunami said. Naruto thought of an idea, for he still didn't get a chance to come. "Here. Lie down on your side and lift up your leg," he said. Tsunami moved off of Naruto and shifted herself sideways. "Like this?" she asked. "Yeah." Naruto scooted closer and grabbed his. He lifted her leg and started to thrust back in her. This feels way better," he said as he now felt the ease every time he pushed. Now that he had control of her, he closed her legs, feeling the tightness again, then he lifted them and felt the ease. "I love how your feels tighter when I close your legs. With my legs like this, his thickness," she thought, loving the feeling. Naruto, pump it, with your," she said. Naruto lifted her legs and started to thrust faster. Naruto, I'm coming. As Tsunami came her second time, Naruto too was about to come. Me too. I'm gonna come in your. Naruto said it out loud, holding it in just in case she didn't want him to come in her. Then come in my. She answered him. Now that he was able to let go, he released inside her, feeling it up. He let go of her leg as he took his out, covered with his own cum. Giving me the blue balls, I'm not even finished. He thought. Hey Tsunami, get up, face the wall and bend over on all fours. He said. Sure. As she changed positions, bending over on her hands and knees, she looked back at him. Are you going to me in the again? Yeah, since you don't want me to finish on either your tits or. He said, and he got off the bed, walked to the end and got back on. What is he planning? I could easily bend over the bed or on the table. She thought as she found it weird that he made her bend over facing the wall, but she still went with it. Naruto walked up to her already with a full erection. He grabbed her and then he too got on his knees. Now that both were bending down, it was easier for him to her anal. Naruto slowly entered his tip in again her. As he felt that it wasn't that tight as before, he entered his all the way in, now feeling her warmness. Feeling comfortable, he started to thrust in her again with ease. Oh, please me faster. She ordered as she felt his thickness sliding along her walls. Naruto moved his hand under her so it was like he was hugging her, while with the other hand he fingered her. Faster Naruto. Harder. She screamed. Naruto started to pace up, thrusting faster while he also fingered her. The bed not being stable, it started to move as he thrusted, hitting the walls and creaking out loud. Yeah bitch, you like that? Naruto said as he too was getting into it. Ah yeah, I like that. Me harder. Come in me. Fill my with your cum. Naruto felt her tightening up like it was ing him in. She was about to cum, so it was almost time for him to trick her. Ah Naruto. I'm coming, she said as she came all over herself. Naruto felt her wetness as it went down her legs and into his. He took his hand out and started to lick it. Tsunami collapsed as she lost the strength to hold on and dropped her head on the pillows as Naruto still had a grab of her. Now that she was down, he too felt like coming as his started to harden up. I'm gonna cum, he said. Let me cum on those big tits of yours. No. Cum in me. I can't take it, she screamed, not letting him cum on her tits. Of course he would like to cum in her, but he already did. What's the point in that? It then, I'll cum on your back, he said as it was all coming to plan. Hoping she won't notice, Naruto took his out and started to jack off, while in the meantime he spitted on her back using his saliva. Thinking it was his sperm, Tsunami was finally able to fall down on the bed, taking deep breaths. As she lay face flat, she turned her body around to look at Naruto. Now that she faced him, she still saw him jacking off. Naruto blew his whole load on her tits as a shot went all over her, while some ricochet on her face. Surprised that he still had some left, the second he came on her tits, she quickly got up on instinct without knowing her actions as part of his load started to get on her face. She stood still, letting him finish, knowing that what she did was stupid. As Naruto finished, he got off that bed and went to his pants, trying to put them in as quickly as he can. Even though she said not on her tits, Naruto wanted to in the first place since he saw how big they were. Now that he was fully dressed, he decided to throw off his little surprise and just head for Demon Country. Naruto walked on the dirt road, seeing that Demon Country wasn't that off as he started to see buildings and big structures up ahead. After that session with Tsunami, Naruto just dashed through the trees so he can be far away as possible from the land of waves. A day later, and now he walks on the dirt road all sticky from the sweat. He needed to wash it off, so maybe with the little money he has he can go into one of the springs that they have around the country. I need to get clean. With the little money I have, I think I can make it into at least the cheapest hot springs they have here, he said as he kept on walking. Then Naruto spotted off in the far distance some building structure as he got closer. He walked up to it and stopped in front as he eyed the building. There was a small house and in the back there was a 2-story tower. He read the sign. Oh cool, a hot springs. Wonder what's it doing all the way out here though? He said as he entered the building. In front there was an old lady up at the register. Excuse me, how much does it cost to get in? He asked the old lady. Well, that depends. How long do you plan on staying, young man? She said. Well, maybe a day or two. Well, you're just in luck, kiddo. This here is the cheapest springs in this area. Oh yeah, well that's great, then please get me a key. He said happily. Naruto took out his leftover money and paid her. The old lady gave him his key to his room and a towel for him. Naruto made his way around and entered the second building in the back that was 2 stories high. On the bottom were the lockers and up on top were the rooms. He found the stairs and made his way up the stairs to the second floor. Wonder why it was so cheap. This place looks great, nothing cheap and the scenery is wonderful. He thought as he made his way up the stairs. He took out his key looking for the matching number and entered his room. He threw his stuff to the side and looked around the room. As you enter you can see the bed in the middle of the room. On the other side of the room there was a big window and right across the bed there was a TV stand with the TV off and the controller on the bed. Naruto took off all of his clothes and grabbed his towel wrapping it around his waist. He made his way downstairs and into the hot springs. He slides the doors to side and entered the springs while closing the door behind him. He smiled as he noticed nobody was in the springs. He looked around seeing that it was covered with walls of strong bamboo and in the middle there it was the hot spring with a small waterfall at the end of the room. Around the spring there were rocks nicely shaped and smooth. He walked up to the spring and took of his towel loving the freedom since nobody was around. He folded it and put it to the side. Then he grabbed the tray and dipped it in the water. Feeling that he had enough he took it out and poured it on himself, feeling the hotness run down his body washing away the sweat. He entered the water and comforted himself up against the rocks. He laid his head back on the rock and let himself sink into pure nirvana. There he stayed a few minutes refreshing himself. The door slid open and in came Konan wearing a towel wrapped around her. She closed the door after her, dropped her towel and walked up to the spring. Naruto opened his eyes to look who just came in, and surprised he was when he saw Konan in a tight string bikini bra that was grabbing hold of her tits together. He eyed her as she walked up to him, looking at her the way they bounced every time she took a step, and looking at her curves. Konan came to a stop and grabbed the tray Naruto used and dipped it in the water. She looked at him and gave him a short smile. She took out the tray and poured it all on her chest. Naruto looked at her as the water came running down her body, on her chest and down her curves. Crap, Maya's getting hard. He thought as he kept on looking at her. Konan jumped in the water and rose up. Then she too laid her back up against the rocks. So, what brings you here, Konan? He asked. I'm here to purify myself. She said as she laid her head on the rocks, closed her eyes and raised her arms to rest her elbows on them too, but what she didn't know is that as she laid her arms back her rose from the water, giving Naruto the view to enjoy them. It's a small hot spring that I like to go to once in a while. It's usually lonely since it is a mixing bath and people are afraid of perverts. Naruto nodded as he now knew why it was lonely. He kept on staring at her since the water made it see-through, giving him the view to look at her nipples as droplets of water dropped off. She has one hell of a body, I can't even control myself. Naruto looked at her feeling hopeless, or was he? He slowly scooted himself to her as she wasn't that far. Close enough to just grab her tits. Naruto raised his hand from the water and slowly approached her nipple. Not afraid of the consequences, he grabbed her nipple in between his index finger and thumb and started to rub it. Surprised by this good feeling, she lifted her head to see Naruto paying more attention to her nipple than her freaking out about it. Naruto looked at her as she finally noticed. Sorry, it's just that. Please rub my other nipple, she said as she interrupted him. Frozen for a few seconds, he regained conscious. He moved from the side of the spring and went up in front of her. He reached over to the other nipple and started to rub them both now. Conan moaned, feeling her nipples erect under her bra. Please don't stop. She grabbed her string bikini bra and lifted it, leaving it on top of her rack so her nipples can come out as he kept on rubbing. As her bounced when she took her bra off, Naruto grabbed one of her and put his mouth on her nipple, feeling it and ing it, while with the other one he kept on rubbing. Wow, they're so soft and big, not even saggy. She has some amazing s. He thought as he kept on ing on her nipple. He switched to the other one and grabbed it as he started ing on it too. Conan stood there as he rubbed and ed her nipples. Now she was thinking it was her turn to do the pleasuring. Naruto, can you stand up? She said. Naruto stood up from the water, showing his erect dripping water as it stood strong, facing her in the face. She reached her back and grabbed the knot of her string bikini. She untied it and then tied it back, making it shorter so it can lift her up. She fixed her bra back on now as it grabbed a hold of her tits, squeezing them together. As she rose from the water, she grabbed his and with the other hand she used her bare arm to lift up her. She positioned his in under her and then she let go, letting his sink in between her. Don't move, I'll be doing the work, she said as she put her arms on the ledge. Using both her arms now, she started to her upper body, making her jump as if she was running. As her bra kept her tits tight together, his stood right in between them as she made her jump. Damn, your tits feel nice, he said, enjoying the feeling of her s on the sides of his. The tightness of her tits feels like I'm ing her or something, he thought. Conan kept on moving, feeling his thickness slide right along while Naruto felt the softness of her. Oh, see if you can he said. Conan looked at her to see his tip out front. She took out her tongue and started licking around it. Naruto looked at her, seeing her tits jump up and down furiously while she ed his. I think I'm gonna come soon, he said, gripping his teeth, holding onto his load he is about to release. Oh, no longer able to suppress his urges, Naruto came releasing his cum onto her chest. Conan stopped moving and waited as his cum came out onto her tits, covering her whole chest. He came on my chest. It feels so hot and stick, she thought. Naruto slid his out of her and washed himself in the water. Meet me in my room, I'm in 1A. I at least would like to get ed tonight, she said. Naruto got up from the water and went to his towel. Wrapping it around his waist and securing it, he looked back at Conan. Well, I'll see you there, he said, and left, heading to the lockers. Conan took her bikini off and washed off his cum on her chest. He came so much, and it feels hot and sticky, it's kind of hard to get off. Now that she was clean, she put back on her bikini and got out of the springs, walking up to her towel. Picking it up, she wrapped it around her and walked out of the spring, heading to the lockers. She entered the locker room and searched for her locker. She found it and opened it to see that her clothes were there and took off her towel to change. Even though I already washed off, I still feel sticky. I think I feel cleaner if I take a shower, she thought. Leaving her clothes for later, Conan headed to the stall showers. Stepping onto the tile floor, she went for the first stall, looking at it, noticing that it was a bit more spacious than the other stalls. Turning both hot and cold knobs, she waited patiently for her water to get in the mixture of warm water. Naruto entered the lockers, hearing the water running and steam seen from the showers. He walked up to his locker and opening it while still eyeing the showers. Is it Conan? Must be. Can't wait to pound that though. I'm lucky she even allowed me to do a little foreplay. Wonder how lucky I am though, he thought as he looked over to the showers. Dropping his towel, he walked over to the showers, heading to where Conan was at. He entered, looking directly at Conan's back as she washed herself. I wonder if she's noticed me enter. He slowly crept behind her as she washed herself in the warm water. Conan had her hands up as she was washing her hair, not even hearing Naruto behind her since the water was running. Now as he was closer to her, he reached under her arms and grabbed her with both of his hands. Conan let go of her hair and dropped her arms. She looked back, barely seeing the yellow hair with her peripherals. Letting him get away with it, she turned back and looked down. Naruto grabbed her, moving them up and down, feeling their weight. He then moved his hand under her bikini and started rubbing her nipples again. Conan moaned, feeling this sensation once more. Now that he had his hands on her, he got closer to her body. Putting his head on her right shoulder, he started to kiss her neck and biting it. Letting one of her nipples go, he went down, going in her panties. Feeling her hair, he started to feel her wetness. He gently put his finger on her and started rubbing her. "Oh yes, do that, baby. Please keep doing it, don't stop," she said. Conan felt excited. She might even let him get with her early than she expected. Naruto kept on rubbing her, feeling the water in between his fingers. "I'm going to get wet. I want to make sure it's my that's surrounded by your wetness, not by water," he said. Conan replied. Conan moved her right hand into her panties and put her fingers in her vagina. As Naruto rubbed her, she fingered herself, and with her other hand she reached her back and untied her bikini, letting it fall onto the wet floor. Now she moved her hand to her unattended and started to rub nipple. I'm getting wet." Naruto moved his finger into her vagina. "Join her. I want you really wet," he said, and started to finger in a fast pace. Please, I'm really wet." Please stop. I can't handle this," she said in high-pitched voice. Naruto started to feel her juice on his finger. Feeling that it was a little thicker than the water, he let his hand out. He grabbed his as it was barely getting erect. "Can you slouch over a little?" he said. Letting her hands go, Conan slouched a little to the front as he still had a hold of his. Now fully erect, he pushed himself forward, using his tip to move her panties to the side, giving him a view of her aroused. Conan felt his tip at her entrance, so she put her hands on her knees. Naruto slowly entered his whole tip and then slid half his length in her, already feeling the tightness of her walls. Conan grabbed on tighter, feeling his thickness as her vagina automatically closed in on him. She said as she felt him go deeper. "You're as hot," he commented. Now that he had his hole in her, he grabbed her hips, pulled his a little back and thrusted back in a normal pace. Conan still kept her hands on her knees but couldn't hold any longer. She needed to grab onto something so she can apply pressure and be able to last longer without giving in, but the stall being a bit too spacious, the only thing she could latch herself onto is the wall ahead of her that's only a few feet away. Trying to reach for it, she stopped as Naruto grabbed both of her tits and started thrusting in her. Her thought of getting to the wall soon went away as she felt him go in deep, filling her out. She placed her hands on her chest as Naruto thrusted in her. "This feels so good. You're as all wet and hot," he said as he grabbed on tighter to her and thrusted in her faster. "Oh Naruto. This is too much," she said, but he didn't pay attention. Naruto kept on thrusting faster into her, feeling her tighten up to the feeling of his. He thrusted faster, loving the feeling and the sound. His testicles hitting her thighs every time he pushed in and the moan he got every time he felt her tighten up. "This feels so good, feels like my tensing up," he said. Naruto, I can't hold up. I can't hold up," she said as she finally came. Naruto felt her cum at the tip of his and soon going down along, covering his length with her cum and coming out of her vagina, slowly going down her legs. Conan gave out and let her body loose, leaving Naruto to hold her weight as he kept on going. Naruto grabbed her tits harder in instinct as he was not able to hold up anymore and came inside Conan, filling her up as it went further in. Conan fell to her knees as her legs gave out. She was staring at the floor as the water came washing her body as she was on her knees till it stopped pouring. She looked up and there Naruto was in front of her, blocking the path of the water. She looked at his as it was down. "I want to know how good you can be with your mouth," he said as he looked down on her. Conan raised her body as she was still on her knees and grabbed his, feeling it kind of strong. She started jacking him off and soon felt his length get harder and harder the more she moved her hand. She looked at now as it was longer and put the tip in her mouth while looking up to make sure Naruto was okay with it. Feeling the tip in her mouth, she licked around it as if she wanted to wrap her tongue around it. After a few licks, she slowly went down on him as his went more in her mouth. Naruto felt her tongue at the bottom of his as it slid down. Conan started ing his in with her hand that had a hold of it. She started twisting it up and down as she took his in and out of her mouth, making sure it was covered in her saliva. Baby, your taste great, she said. And you're not so bad with your mouth, he said as he grabbed her head and took his back in her mouth. MNGH. MMNGH. Conan quickly took his out of her mouth to catch her breath. Now with a new breath she let go of his and grabbed the back of his thighs, took her tongue out and slid his in her mouth, going deep as it went into throat. Her gag reflex kicked in, making it much easier for her, and now she was deep-throating him. Conan started pushing his thighs toward her body to sink him in more, which drove Naruto crazy as it went in and out. Your mouth feels so good. I think I'm about come, he said. Conan took his out of her mouth. Please come in my face, she said as she took out her tongue. Naruto started masturbating in front of her face as she waited for him. In just a few seconds he was about to come. Here it comes, he said as his first shot got her in the left eye, and soon more started coming out, getting her whole face as he kept on going. Naruto stopped and looked at Conan as she now opened her eyes and starts licking cum off around her mouth. She finished cleaning her face and got up facing Naruto. We're not finished yet, she said as she grabbed his hand and led him to a locker room bench. She raised her right foot and placed it on the bench and leaned forward so she can use her two hands to be stable. Naruto, getting the idea, grabbed his and entered her. With the feeling of her walls, he slowly started to get erect. My legs won't give out on me so easy this time, so you better me hard. Make me really wet, Conan said, looking back at him. Naruto grabbed her hips and started thrusting fast, showing Conan his answer, or more like making her feel his answer. Oh yes. Ah yes. That's it. Kya. Me like that. Me real good, Naruto. Conan screamed as Naruto was doing his work. I'm gonna get this really wet, he said as he thrusted harder and faster into Conan. Ah yes. That's what I like to hear. Me harder, she screamed. Naruto started thrusting in harder, going deeper in every time. I'm gonna come, she screamed, feeling the tension. I can't take it, Conan screamed as she came surrounding Naruto's, working as lube for Naruto. Quote exclamation mark. Naruto. I can't take this, she said as more cum started coming out. As her hands fell, her only support was her elbows. Crap, these benches are too small. My hands will slip with the sweat coming from my face. Got to find a way to be stable, she thought. She spreads out on arm to the side and soon surrounded it with paper to make it longer till it reached the locker, and she did too with her other hand, using the lockers as her support for balance. Naruto, seeing this as her new way to maintain herself, he started pounding her faster, as you can hear his nutsack hitting her thighs every second, making them wiggle. Oka ka mmii. Naruto. IICA can't take this, she screamed. Are you serious? You're not even that wet yet. Like you said, you wanted me to get you really wet, so that's what I'm gonna do, he said, not even slowing down. Naruto kept at his same pace, not considering taking one short break. Conan couldn't handle it as her hands felt like giving out, even her whole body felt like giving out. OKAMIII. I'm coming again, she screamed as her juice came out once more, making it harder for her to hold up. Yeah, look how wet you are. Don't you hear that wet nasty sound? He said to her as she silenced herself for a bit, and she actually heard kind of a *splush* sound. Conan thinking of a way to make him come, she dropped her leg from the bench and was on both of her legs to end the ease of him ing her faster as she started to get tighter on him. Oh, this feels good, she screamed again. Oh Cammy, I think I'm coming. she said as a few seconds later she started to come again as it was flowing out of her body. Gotta love this feeling. Yours getting tight, I can feel your walls all around my. He said still in the same pace. Conan kept on coming till she stopped as her papers started to go back to her body. She collapsed onto the bench as both of her hands were swinging each side of the bench. Naruto slid out of her as she fell to the bench. I gotta say it was really hard for me not to come, all that wetness almost had me about to blow. Please pant, don't stop. Pant come in, pant me again. She said looking back at him. Alright then, think you can raise your UP to the air. He said, and Conan raised her arms to get on her elbows and knees to raise her up in the air. Naruto grabs her by her thighs and enters his again in her vagina, feeling it very wet from the secession. Damn, you're really wet. This is gonna be easy. He said, grabbing her thighs harder as he started ing her again, thrusting into her as she kept it up in the air. As he is ing her, he starts to squeeze her thighs, making her tighter. Naruto, please don't stop. Keep on ing me, baby. She said as she looked back and placed her arm on her cheek. I think I'm gonna come soon. He said as he kept on thrusting into her. Please come in me. She screamed, feeling this tense emotion once more. Quote exclamation mark. Conan, say it. Say where you want me come. He said to her. Please come in my Naruto. She responded. Naruto finally came inside of Conan, filling her up, mixing both of their juice in her. Naruto slid his out and looked at it as it was dripping of both of their juice. Hey Conan, why don't you try this out? He asked as he moved up to her and put his leg over the other side of the bench, now standing in between them facing Conan. She raised her head to look at his hanging full of their cum. Conan opens her mouth, letting him enter his in her mouth. He grabbed her hair and starts moving her head, making him his again. Conan was surprised but kept at it and looked up to him as she ed his. Naruto started to cum in her mouth, which surprised Conan of how quick he came. Her mouth got full and Naruto slid himself out as his cum started coming out of her mouth to her chin. She started ing it up and getting the some on her chin. Naruto started to masturbate again as Conan noticed she took out her tongue and closed her eyes, waiting for him. He started spurting some on her face and stopped. That was a really good ing. Sigh, I guess I'll see you later, Conan. Do you want me to help you out at least? He asked. No, I'm fine, thank you. She said. Naruto went to the shower and washed himself as Conan got up and also headed to the showers. Naruto walked out and grabbed his towel and wrapped it around his waist and headed for the door. He turned around to look at the shower. I'll see you later, Conan. And left out the door. Conan turned on one of the showers and started washing herself clean. She took off her bikini suit since it was all ruined now. I can't believe he made me cum so much. I think I could call this a day. She said as she turned off the shower and left to her locker hold her bikini suit. She grabbed her towel and wrapped herself around it, covering her chest and lower region. Then she threw away her bikini in the trash and opened her locker to grab her bag that had her clothes and left to her room. Conan enters her room and threw her bag at the end of the bed and walked over to a closet and opened it. She started extracting clothes and placing it on the bed. Naruto came out of the bathroom, still unheard of by Conan, and spoke up. You know, Conan, if I remember correct, I never got a chance to that of yours. He said as Conan heard the voice behind her. Naruto walked over to her, standing behind her. He used both hands to hold her by the hips, feeling the curves of her body. He reached under her towel and grabbed her, giving it a squeeze. Conan grabbed her towel by her chest using both hands as Naruto raised her towel to see that she wasn't wearing her bikini anymore. He reached her and started rubbing it again and entering her. She moaned. Damn, you're still this wet, he said as he received some more moans from her. But that's not what I'm after for now. He raised her towel showing hair and grabbed his as Conan still had a hold of her towel. He slowly entered her hole while Conan tried to embrace it. She slouched a little toward and let one of her hands go to grab onto the bed. Naruto grabbed her hips and rammed himself in. Kono was surprised by the strange feeling and the fact that he went rough. Yori's tight. I'm going to have to loosen it up a bit, he said as he rammed himself in again. He pulled out and rammed himself in again, hard, shaking the bed and shaking Conan's body. Conan flinched by his roughness every time he rammed himself in her. MNPH. You like that? MNPH. He grunted every time he pounded her. Ah. She screamed out of every thrust. Then in one thrust she came by surprise as it spurted out. Naruto felt it on his legs and stopped. I'm going to make you come even if I don't have to, he said as he started to ram himself in faster, shaking the bed, making it hit the wall. Then he slows down and started ing her at a mid-pace. Conan liked it as anal was new to her, but it soon changed as he started to speed up again, this time going faster. Conan grabbed onto her towel as he was speeding up. It wasn't strong enough to shake the bed, but it was strong enough to make her body move. Oh, I can't take this, she said as he sped up again. Naruto was now pounding her faster, making her chest move forward and back at every thrust he made. Conan couldn't handle it, so she let go of her towel and grabbed onto the bed, now using both hands. As he thrusted in her, shaking every inch of her body, the towel started to unwrap itself by his roughness and it slowly fell off, showing her tits move forward and back as the same pace of his speed. Naruto saw her tits and reached over to grab one of her whole tit. He squeezed it, feeling its softness, and when he found her nipple he started rubbing it. You're so rough, she said. Naruto started speeding up again, making her move faster. Feeling her walls close every time he went deeper. Conan didn't know she can do it, but she started to tighten up on him, making the feeling more amazing. Naruto, I'm gonna come again, she screamed. Me too, he said. Naruto kept at his pace, wanting to come in her. Oh Kami. Naruto, ooh, she screamed as she came in herself. Ah Kunan. He screamed as he came into her, filling it up, giving Conan a feeling she never felt before. Conan collapsed onto the bed as Naruto still kept standing. He moved her whole upper body onto the bed. He took out his and was surprised to see it still standing straight. As Conan was panting to catch her breath, he shoved his back up hair again, and this time he grabbed hair as he rammed himself in once more. Oh Naruto, she screamed. That feels real good, she said. You like that, huh bitch? He said. Oh yes daddy. Keep on ing my. Fill it with your cum. She responded. Naruto no started slapping her with his hand, leaving a red mark on her right cheek. He kept on slapping it as he was ing her. Conan, I'm coming in your. He said as he came in her once more, filling her up with both of his cum shots. He took himself out and rested a bit with Conan. He moved her luggage out of the bed as he rested too next to her. Hey Conan, why don't you go lie on the pillows and open your legs a little? He said. Conan got up and went over to the pillows, crawling. She threw herself and rested on them as Naruto came over to her again with a full erection. As she spreaded her legs, Naruto saw her as it was aroused, and by the looks of it she was well trimmed with her pubic hair, as it was all there yet not much hair to make it bushy. Naruto grabbed her ankles and placed them on his shoulders. He slouched himself toward her entrance again. Conan, can you raise your lower body up a bit? He asked. She used her elbows to raise herself up. Then as she was up, Naruto entered her hole, which gave Conan a surprise. Naruto leaned toward her body as it pushed her legs all the way down to her. He positioned his arms on each side of her body and started thrusting. Oh Kami. This feels even better, she said. Hearing that, Naruto sped up again, thrusting faster. Oh, that's right baby, me. Make me come, she said. Naruto started speeding up some more, feeling hair in a way he never felt before. Quote exclamation mark. I think I'm gonna come, he said as he came into her again. No, don't stop. Please keep on ing me. Don't pull out, she said. Who said I was finished? He said as he kept on going even though he already came. That's right baby, she said as she looked at him. Naruto kept going at it, not slowing down. As he saw her tits move, he decided to reach down and grab one with his mouth biting onto it. He then used one of his hands to finger her as they ed. Now feeling his comeback, he started to get in it again and sped up. "Oh yes, me harder. Harder," she screamed as she was getting pounded and fingered at the same time. She put her hands up on the bed's wall so she can push down every time he pushed out. "Oh Kami. Naruto, faster. I'm about to come," she screamed. Naruto fingered her faster as he waited for her cum. "Oh Kami," she said as she exploded. Her cum came shooting out, trailing down to reaching his. Naruto took her tit out of her mouth and to look at her legs, grabbed onto her ankles. "I'm about to cum," he said. Conan started rubbing her nipples, trying to arouse herself. "Oh, he screamed and came into her hole. He collapsed and rested as he kept on coming. Once he finished, he got up and slid his out of her and they both rested. "You know I do have this move I like to do when I'm done," he said to her as they both stared at the ceiling. "And what's that?" she asked. "A pearl necklace. Do you want one?" he said as he looked at her. "Sure, why not?" she said as she got up, and so did he. They both got off the bed and onto the carpet. "Let me do you one more time before I leave?" he asked. "Sure, as long as it's good," she answered. "I'll make this a quickie so we can get out of here." "Go and bend over like you're trying to reach your toes," he said. She bended over, reaching her toes as Naruto came up to her again. He grabbed her and positioned his at her. He slowly entered her as it went deep and slowly curved down as her body was in a curved position. He started to go faster and harder, like he said, a quickie. "Oh Kami, you're going too deep," she said, feeling reached deep down her. "Try to tighten up a bit so I can come faster," he said. Conan squeezed her inner muscles, making it tighter on him. "Yeah, like that. I'm about to come," he said as he stopped thrusting and pushed himself deep in her till she took all of him in and he came feeling her deeper parts the most and pulled himself out when he finished. Conan turned around and got on her knees and grabbed his and started ing it. "Do you want that pearl necklace now?" he asked. She nodded her head as she ed him clean. "Raise your tits and put my in between them," he said. Conan grabbed her tits together and Naruto entered in between them. She started moving her as his easily slid between them. "Here I come," he said as a warning. Conan closed her eyes, knowing how much he can come, and looked away as he cummed his whole load onto her neck, and slowly the shots descended to her chest and tits. Feeling all the hotness on her chest, Conan looked down to see he was still coming. She slid his up to her face and started to get cum on herself as more kept coming out onto her. "Wow, you came so much," she said as a compliment. "Yeah, I kind of do," he said, scratching his neck. Naruto looked down at her to see her covered in his cum. He grabbed her chin and raised it as he lowered himself face to face and kissed her. Even when she was covered in cum, he kissed her and they shared their own saliva with their tongues. They stopped and Naruto walked to the door, slid it open and walked out. Naruto walked up to his door and slowly opened it, feeling the strong, cold, morning breeze brush up on his face as he exited his room. He felt clean and fresh after taking a nice cold shower to calm the body down. He walked downstairs and made his way out of the hot springs entrance, but stopped at the front desk to talk to the old lady. "Excuse me, Granny, but do you where I can get a hold of Shion, the priestess of this country?" he said, saying it slowly and clear for the lady to hear him good. "Ah, you mean the fortune teller," she said, correcting him. "Sure, if that's what they call her nowadays," he said. "Well, Luca here, Sonny," she said, pointing at him to come closer to her. "It's hard to get a reach of her, but I'll tell ya anyways. In the middle of this small country, there is a big building structure, and at the very top level is the office of the secretary and Harristant. That is where ya have to go to get in touch with her," she said. "Why do I need to go there? Can't I just go to her directly?" he said. "Well, ya could, but ya not the only one that wants to see her," she said. "It's not easy as it looks. A lot of people want to get in touch with her mentally and spiritually, and some even want it physically. That's why you need to make an appointment. Okay then. I guess I'll be leaving. Thanks for the help, he said, waving goodbye as he walked out of the entrance and headed to Demon Country. Naruto walked into the borders of Demon Country looking around the place. He walked in a mid-pace heading to the building that can maybe give him the right to see the fortune teller. Minutes later Naruto stopped and looked at the huge building before him. Just like the old lady said, crazy villagers. He thought to himself as he entered the building looking at the receptionist desk. She was surrounded by the villagers who were begging to get in touch with the priestess. As he walked closer he could hear all of them begging and giving their reasons on why they need to see her. Naruto found a hallway on the other side of the desk and just went around the group and into the hallways without being noticed, as it was the receptionist's job not to let anyone upstairs. Naruto took an elevator up to the last floor till it stopped and the doors slowly opened. He walked out into a small hallway which leads to the secretary's assistant's desk which was out front. He walked into the room and looked around as there were big windows on each side of the walls with their curtains pulled aside filling the room up with light. In the middle of the room there were two couches face each other and in between them there was a table with a few magazines stacked on each other. There were also some big plants put near the windows. Naruto walked towards the desk seeing a red-haired lady with her head down and behind her were two paintings and a shelf full of books. Naruto walked up the front of the desk and stopped to look down at the lady. She was doing paperwork and too busy to even look up. I need to see Shion, the priestess he said as he got interrupted. Sorry but she is not available at the moment, but I do take personal messages for her. She said not even raising her head. No, I would like to tell her personally. He said as he kept on staring at the redhead having a feeling that she looked familiar. She kept on working on her papers but stopped as she felt that the man was still looking at her. She stopped writing and dropped her pen and looked up staring at him to see what he wanted. Naruto got a good look and it finally came to him. Sasuke. Now I remember, you were with Sasuke. He said out loud as he pointed at her. Karen pushed her chair back and got up as she grabbed his lips to shut him up. Naruto looked down at her hand. Don't ever say that name in front of me ever again, she said as she let go of his lips and took a seat. Naruto speaks. So what's your name? He asked. She looked at him and decided to answer the unknown male. Karen. That's all I'm telling you, she said. Well Karen, I'm Naruto, so why don't you want to speak of, you know who? He asked. She looked at him as if what she told him ever got through his head. Look, I'm doing my job, so I don't have time for this, she said and grabbed her pencil and went back to writing. Sorry. Naruto turned around and was about to leave but turned his head around to ask another question. What about Shion? Is she actually here? Karen looked at him. Look, I'm gonna tell you straight out. The priestess is out and no one knows her whereabouts and my stupid secretary went on vacation so no one can make any appointments till both of the people are back, and don't tell the villagers of anything I just told you, she said, and Naruto slowly turned around and walked away. For the past week Naruto went every day to the building asking if both of the people have came back. As always he has gotten the same answer and walked out without any information, which ticked him off because he was really short on the money and he knew he wouldn't last this whole week. A whole week has already passes and Naruto was already tired of hearing the same answer. Naruto came back to the building and made his way up to the top floor. As he enters the room he sees Karen standing next to the file cabinet on with her arm in the top cabinet placing a folder in. He checks her out as the first thing he sees is her hair tied back with a string of hair out in front of her glasses. A small white buttoned shirt tucked under her short skirt. He saw part of her bottom since the skirt was too small. Noticing her nice legs he sees her on high heels. Naruto was turned on by the office look. Karen turns her head and noticed Naruto standing there and eyeing her body. She blushes and closes the cabinet and quickly gets behind her desk to cover her lower body as she stood. Naruto walks up to the desk and asks if Shion is here once more or even if they think they know where she is. Karen looks at him. This guy is not giving up. What does he need her for anyway? She thought. No. Sorry, she is not here, I'm only taking messages for her now. Naruto got a little fumed that they still don't know where Shion is. He calmed himself down and thought to himself. I'll just deal with this problem like I said I would. He thought. Naruto put his hands behind his back and slowly walked towards the big window. He looked down at part of the village as Karen eyed him suspiciously and then went back to work. Naruto then asked her, I know it's none of my business, but what happened between you and Sasuke? He asked. Karen was surprised but decided to answer him to at least start a little conversation with a friend of Sasuke. She took a deep sigh and then spoke. He broke my heart, she said. Naruto thought that she was gonna cry, but it totally went the other way. He went with some other pink-haired bitch. He doesn't even know what he missed out on. She said out loud. Naruto walked slowly behind the desk to look at the pictures as he eyed Karen if she spotted him get behind the counter. Karen looks at him but goes back to working since he was only looking at the paintings, totally forgetting that she was wearing a short skirt with no panties. Naruto slowly peeks at her skirt, seeing a little bit of hair and noticing that she had no underwear. Karen looks back at Naruto as he was still looking at the paintings and goes back to work. Naruto slowly unzips his pants and asks her a question. Hey Karen, you think you can leave a message for Shion from me? He asked as he walked closer to her. Sure. What is it you want me to tell her? She says as she picks up the papers she was working on and started hitting it against the table to straighten up all of the papers. Naruto was now behind her and took one look at her again. Karen grabbed the stapler and was about to staple the papers she finished on. Naruto slapped her hard, hitting a little bit of the exposed part. Karen's glasses fell down to her nose as she dropped the papers and stapler. She was too surprised she didn't even feel Naruto's hand on her shoulder as he pushed her, making her bend over the desk. He lifts up her skirt and takes his as he was getting turned on. Naruto got an erection and put his tip up her. He moved up her skirt so he can see a little better and then shoved his up her. As he got in his angle, he grabbed her hips and started pushing in. Karen gritted her teeth as she holds herself on the table and used her hand to straighten her glasses. She tried her best to hold in her screams as he started to thrust much faster. Ah, MMN. She moaned as he went faster. Even though it was apparent at her work, she just couldn't resist it. She needed attention and this man was giving it to her. Naruto felt her tightness around his and looked down as he thrust it in. He started moving faster. Karen couldn't hold back anymore. Oh God, I'm coming. She came on herself already and Naruto stopped. He takes out his. You can't even handle this, and I don't want to hurt you that bad. He said as tucked his back into his pants and made his way around the table heading for the elevator. As Naruto walked, he felt 2 taps on his shoulder and turns around. Karen stares at him and slowly goes down to her knees while saying, I want to take this message personally. She was down on her knees and unzips Naruto's pants, taking out his. Karen holds on to his and quickly gets it erect, which surprised Naruto too. She takes him into her mouth and starts licking his tip. Wow, you're really good, he said as for some reason it felt like he was about to cum, but that can't be, can it? Karen put him back into her mouth and looked up at him as she started to go deep. Naruto looked down as she went as deep as she could. He grabs her head to help her out a bit. I'm about to cum, he said as she takes him out of her mouth and starts jacking him off while she looks up at him. Naruto slowly started to cum as a small load got on her cheeks. She moved her face and started to get cum from her glasses to her mouth. Karen stood up and took of her glasses. She started cleaning cum off and then she cleaned her face off with her finger and then swallowing it. She adjusted her glasses and looked at Naruto. Why don't we take this into the office? She said as she grabbed his hand and led him to her boss's office. They entered the room, and on the side of the room there were shelves on each side of the wall, and in the back was a big desk with a big chair behind it, followed by 2 windows in the back. They walked behind the desk and she threw him onto the chair. Naruto hit the chair roughly and waited for her. Karen really seems to be in the mood to in her boss's office. Naruto stared at Karen as she started to walk to him slowly as she unbuttoned her shirt, only showing her white bra that was holding her tits. As she is closer to Naruto, she untucks her shirt and also unties her hair, letting it loose as she puts her arms on his shoulders as she gets on top of him while he starts to take out his again. Since her skirt was already small, she didn't need to raise it up as she went down on his erect. His tip entered her entrance as she slowly came down while Naruto grabs her by the waist to hold her. She went all the way down till she reached her limits as his filled her up. She started to jump, feeling his go in and out, which drove her more into passion. "You're so warm," he said as he pushed her down to go faster. Karen sped up so she can make him come before her. "Ah, you're so thick, I just love it," she said as she squeezed on him, loving the feeling of it. Karen raised her body and Naruto stopped her before she went down. "Stay like that," he said as he grabbed her hips and started bringing himself up, hitting her, making her tits jump up and down. Oh baby, that's it, keep doing it, don't stop," she said as he went faster and faster. Naruto started to feel her tightness and went faster than before. She said every time he thrusted. "I'm gonna come soon," she said as she grabbed onto his shoulders tighter and leaned forward, laying her body as he thrusted into hers. "I'm coming, Naruto, I'm coming," she said as she came splattering herself on his tip. Naruto stopped, letting it all come down onto his. Karen finished and lifted herself from his shoulders. "This time I want to be the one to make you come," she said as she used her hand to pull the chair back so he would look like he is lying down. She placed her hands on his chest and adjusted herself again. Naruto grabbed her waist as he entered her and waited for her to move. Karen grabbed his arms and placed them on her as she started to grind her on his. Naruto grabbed hair and started grasping it, feeling the softness of her skin and roundness of hair as she kept on grinding her on him. "Damn, your feels so good," he said as he loved the feeling and started to push her down as he used his hands to control her movements. "I don't know why, but I already feel like coming," he said as he moved hair in motion. "Here it comes. Come on, move that faster," he said as he started to slap her while she moved faster. He screamed as Karen stopped while Naruto shot his load up her. He kept on coming and thrusted in deeper to get more cum in. "That pant felt really good," he said. "Here, get up and bend over the table, this isn't over," he said as he slid his out. Karen got up and bended over the table waiting for Naruto. Naruto got up and got behind Karen. He started stroking his, getting it pumped up again. He grabbed her hips and took off her skirt, sliding it down her legs, getting a great view of her vagina as she had her hairs trimmed into a triangle and her dripping wet. He gets back up and puts his tip at her and grabs her hips and enters her slowly. "See if you can last this time," he tells her and starts thrusting hard. Naruto started off in a fast pace, giving each other a good feeling as he entered her and she getting pounded by him. Keep on doing it. Don't stop," she screamed as she looked back at him. Naruto moved his hand from her hip to her tits, moving his hand under her bra, feeling her erect nipple and started rubbing it. That feels good, keep on doing it," she said as she too started rubbing her tit with her hand. Naruto kept on thrusting up her while feeling her soft tits, feeling them move around his hand every time he thrusted in. "I'm gonna come soon," he said, still thrusting in her till he reached his peak. Naruto grabbed onto her hips harder and squeezed her tit as the tension grew every thrust he did. he said as he exploded in her, filling her up as some poured out down her legs. Feeling exhausted, he leaned forward and rested on her back as his still kept on coming. Naruto eventually takes out his while Karen turns around and puts her hands on the table to push herself up, sitting on the edge, showing her exposed wet and the cum that went down her legs. Feeling disappointed that he came quickly, Naruto goes up to her and moves her legs apart as he enters in between her with his ready for another round. Naruto enters her feeling it hot, which got him excited. He grabs her legs and pushes her toward him to get more in as Karen laid her body on the table. Naruto starts thrusting in as he had his hands on the table while she had her legs wrapped around him. Yes. Oh yes baby. Make me feel good, she said as she lay back getting ed. Naruto started thrusting harder and faster, seeing her move in rotation while she lay down. He kept on looking at her tits and decided to give them attention as he bended over while still ing her and placed his hand on her belly. He moved his hand more up, feeling her soft skin. He moved his hand under her bra and cupped her. Karen knew what he wanted to do and lifted herself and untied her bra, letting it fall off as it now exposed both her. Naruto rubbed the other nipple as he moved in closer and started ing on her tits and biting the other. Karen then gets up and scoots closer to him and wraps her legs harder around him and puts her arms on his shoulders. Naruto picks her up from the table and starts to her as she was the one that thrust in by using her legs to push herself. This feels good, but turn around, she said, and he did. Then she pushes forward and he hits the table and lands on his back. Naruto uses his elbows to push his whole body up on the table. Now Karen starts jumping up and down as the angle she was in let him go in deeper. She kept on jumping as he had a hold of her hips and kept his hands there. I feel like coming, she said as she came slowly once again dripping down his. She let her body fall and landed on his chest. As she is breathing heavily, Naruto moves his hands down to her thighs and rises up hair as his slides out. He grabs his and shoves it up her, feeling cum in her, warm as her. Then he starts moving her thighs up and down as his went in and out. Now that Naruto had the control, he started moving her thighs fast as he thrusted in her. Karen just laid still as he was thrusting in her. As Karen has had enough rest, she gets on her elbows and now she starts wiggling her. Naruto lets go of her and just sits there as she wiggled her while he had his in her. He put his hands behind his head, enjoying the feeling of her insides as she wiggled. Oh God. Ah, I'm gonna cum. I'm gonna cum, she screamed as she was climaxing. Me too. Don't slow down baby. Don't slow down, he said as he started to slap her. Karen started to go faster the more he slapped her. Naruto, she screamed as she came and leaned her body to take breaths. Naruto shot his cum up her again as he slowed down. He grabbed her and squeezed it as he came every time. As he finished coming, both of them got up from the table. Karen walks to the middle of the room and looks at Naruto. I want to show you a technique I like to use, she said. Naruto walked closer to her as she got in her knees ready to give Naruto some head. Naruto gets in front of her and puts his in front of her face. Karen grabs it and starts stroking it. She puts the tip in her mouth and licks it, moving her tongue right around it. Karen finally takes it in her mouth and starts ing his. She moved her head sideways so that it would be hitting her inner cheek as she looked up at him to see if he was enjoying it. Then she grabs a hold of his and starts to deep throat him. Naruto grabbed her hair and pulled it back so it wouldn't get in her way. Karen took him all the way as Naruto started to push her head to go deeper. She started choking and looked up at him and gave him the finger. Naruto laughed it off and told her to get back to ing his. Karen stops and looks up at him. She then starts to use her chakra ability on her hand and mouth without Naruto knowing a thing. Naruto looked down to feel the urge to cum like before. What the foo, he said as he came into her mouth. Karen took it all in and laughed that he still hasn't noticed what she did. She took out his and again transferred her chakra to her hand, making him come again. Naruto blasted shots onto her face, mostly covering her glasses and face. She then moved it down to get some on her tits and surprised that he still hasn't ran out of sperm. She lets him go and cleans herself up. She stands up and points at him. You really are an idiot, you know that. The whole time I have been using my chakra manipulation to make you come faster the minute I gave you a blowjob at my desk. Naruto stared at her, realizing that he did feel strange when he came quickly. What? Really? I don't believe you one bit. He said, smirking a bit. Karen gets on all fours and looks behind her to look at him. Me and tell me if you feel the difference. Naruto goes up to her and enters her from behind. He grabs her by the hips and waits. Karen starts to use her chakra in her vagina, making twice as hot, wet and tight. Ah, this is so hot. You're as dripping like crazy. He said as he came already in less than 5 seconds. He took his put to stop coming. Wow, that's some crazy shit. See if you can take this. He said as he makes a clone appear next to him. The clone gets under her and enters her as he enters her from the. That won't make a difference, you know. She said as she let them settle in. They starting her, except this time Naruto summons another clone in front of her already with his facing her. She grabs it and starts deep-throating him while she is holding it. Then she smiled and starts using her ability, making it irresistible to not come. All the Narutos started to come tremendously into her. Karen waited for them to pull out, but they never did and kept on coming in her. Both of the Narutos in the back were starting to fill her up as cum came out of dripping from her and as massive came down. You guys pull out. That's too much, she screamed as more poured in her. The one in front started to fill her mouth up and she let go of his to stop, but he grabbed her head and pushed her toward, forcing her to take it all in. Cum came out of her mouth, going down her chin as he was still in her. He took his out of her mouth and touched her face with his and started to cum crazy, getting her face and hair. She started to feel unconscious from all the sperm and collapsed. As she fell, she grabbed onto the Naruto in front of her but accidentally touched his as he came some more down her whole arm. Karen slowly gets back her conscious and gets up. She spits out cum and cleans her body. This is disgusting, she said, removing all the cum from her face and hair. Look who's laughing now, he said as he stared at her clean herself. You, she said. Naruto walks behind her back and pushes her toward the table and forces her to bend over, laying her chest on the desk. He pulls her arms behind her back and lays them over another and holds them down with one hand. Karen looks back at him. What the? She said, confused as to what was going on. Look, just tell me and I'll go easy on you. Where's Shion? He asked. What the air you talking about? I already told you no one knows where she is. She said. Wrong answer. He says as he rams his up her. Hey, what the ah? She screamed as his went past her limits, which hurt her a bit. So is she here or not? He asked again. No, look ah. She screamed as he rammed himself 2 more times and slapped her. Naruto summons a clone on top of the table and looks down at Karen as she looks up at the clone. I'm not stupid. If Shion really left and no one knew her whereabouts, then why are you still working here? You would have gone on a break till they found her. So is she here or not? If not, the clone on top would very much like to come on you. He said. Karen was looking up at the clone and turns her head around to look at the one behind her. All right, she is here, she is. She didn't want to deal with villagers because it gave her too much stress, so she stopped her relationship with them in order to rest. She said in one breath. Naruto thought it over carefully. Now that's what I wanted to hear. Let's celebrate. Naruto holds her arms back and starts ing her. She turns around to look at him but starts feeling hotness on her cheek and neck and turns around to get cum on her face from the clone in front. Her vision goes blurry as the clone disappears and Naruto grabs her hair and pulls her head back and keeps on ramming her faster. ah, she screamed as he thrusted deeper in. Naruto kept on going. I'm coming. Ah god, she screamed as she came all over her legs. Naruto kept on going, not stopping so she wouldn't rest. Karen was still in her orgasm and wouldn't stop coming. Santa. Oh ga. She couldn't even speak a whole sentence. Naruto was getting to his climax. I'm coming bitch, he said as he started to come up her. He bended over next to her ear and whispered to her. You like that? My hot semen going up your, filling it till up, making it pour out. He said as he kept on coming. And it started to fall out. Karen's legs grew weak as the orgasm hit her hard. Astonished what one man can do to her. Naruto finally finished and pulls out. He cleaned himself and went to his clothes, putting it on. He walks to the door as he zips himself up. Pleasure doing business with ya. Oh, and if she isn't there, I'll be back. He said as he walked out the door heading home for a clean shower.